Okay, we're going to start today's Zoom meeting for Math 1113, April 16th, section 7.3 on page 597. Why don't we try something like number 5. The cosine of x 4/5 and a cosecant of x negative, which means 1 over sine of x is negative, which means basically y is negative, and cosine's positive, which is your x coordinate, which means you're in quadrant 4. So your picture would look like 4 over 5. Come on. 4 over 5. And your y is negative. It'd have to be -3 if you can tell that. It's a 3, 4, 5, but the 3 is negative. Okay, and they want you to find sine 2x, cosine 2x. And we can find tangent 2x by dividing sine of 2x by cosine. All right, well, hope you remember that a sine of 2x is twice the sine times the cosine. And so your twice and your sine is a -3/5, and your cosine is 4/5. That was given. And you look like you're at -24 over 5. Again, notice it's less than 1. Is less than your bottom. If we go to number 2, we'll have a cosine of 2x. Remember, there were 3 versions of that. Cosine, just to remind you, cosine squared minus sine squared. 1 minus 2 sine squared. 2 cosine squared minus 1. You can use any of the 3. I guess we'll use the first one. So cosine squared is 4/5 squared, and sine squared is -3/5 squared. 16 over 25, subtract 9 over 25, which is 7 over 25. And then our tangent of 2x. Our tangent, and we will just divide sine of 2x by cosine of 2x. -24 over 25 divided by 7 over 25. Can you tell? Flip around, times 25 over 7, you're going to wind up with -24. 7, remember, there's no rules about tangents. It's your ratio of y to x. Notice it's negative because it's in quadrant 4. Okay, so that's what they want. Double angle formulas in the first section. Let's try half angle formulas. How about 19? A tangent of 22.5 degrees. Remember, you're supposed to be using half angle. So this is like a u over 2. If u over 2 is 22.5, can you tell your u? It's going to be 45 degrees. And a tangent, u over 2, this is kind of one of the strange ones I don't really have memorized. You can use any of the ones bottom there, or you can do it as a sine over a cosine. I'm on the wrong, let's see, up here. I guess I just use the first one, 1 minus cosine over sine. So let's see, u is 45, so that's 1 minus a cosine of 45 degrees over a sine 45 degrees. Well, that will make 1 minus root 2 over 2 and divide by root 2 over 2. Sine and cosine of 45 degrees are both root 2 over 2. They're equal. You can play around with this. You come denominator is 2 over 2, so you're looking at 2 minus root 2 all over 2 over root 2 over 2. You tell the 2's flip around, cancel. 2 minus root 2 divided by root 2. And you could rationalize on that if you want. I don't know the exact form the book has for an answer. You could also convert it to decimals. How about one like 23? That's a strange one. Pi over 8, tangent of pi over 8. Or maybe we'll do 27, the sine of 9 pi over 8. Remember, you want to set that equal to u over 2 to find out what your u is. U over 2 equals 9 pi over 8. So if I multiply by 2, I get u is 9 pi over 4. Doubled this. Okay, if you remember, your formula would go plus or minus big square root 1 minus cosine u divided by 2. So you would get plus or minus big square root 1 minus cosine of 9 pi over 4 divided by 2. Let me think. 9 pi over 8 is going to be third quadrant. This is going to be negative quadrant 3. Need that explained. 9 pi over 8, this would be 8 pi over 8 at pi, so 9 pi over 8 is into the third quadrant. Sine 8 sine is negative. Y coordinate is negative. So we're going to get a negative square root 1 minus, and your cosine of 9 pi over 4. Let me think on that one. 9 pi over 4. 8 pi over 4 is here, which is 2 pi. So 9 pi over is first quadrant. So that's by itself a positive root 2 over 2. So 1 minus root 2 over 2 all over 2. And I'm not going to mess with rationalizing common denominators and the like. It's nasty. I won't show you the next 10 steps of algebra to get to the book answer. Okay, what about one like 31a? Cosine squared of a 34 degrees minus the sine squared of a 34 degrees. Get rid of that. Yeah, okay. No, I don't want that. How do I go back? Ah, okay, very good. See, this is a cosine squared of u minus a sine of u, and that's going to be equal to a cosine of 2u. That was the first version of cosine 2u. All right, u is 34. So notice this is equal to cosine of twice of 34 degrees, which is a cosine of 68 degrees, which is some random decimal. That's not a circle value. How about 33a? Sine of 8 degrees over a 1 plus a cosine of 8 degrees. Again, I don't quite have that memorized, so flipping back, it matches a tangent of u over 2. Sine over 1 plus a cosine, where That's u is 8 degrees, so it'd be a tangent of 8 degrees over 2. U, this is a u, this would be a tangent of u over 2, which would be a tangent of 8 degrees over 2, which is a tangent of 4 degrees. Which again, that's the exact expression for it. You punch it and get the decimal. All right. How about one like 39? Find sine over 2, cosine over 2, and tangent of x over 2. Yeah, more of a project. It's 3 and 90 degrees less than x less than 180 degrees. Okay, find x over 2, cosine x over 2, tangent. I could again do your sine over cosine, but these darn half angle forms are so complicated. It's actually easier to just pick the straight formula out of the book for the tangent rather than try to divide these two, because they are pretty nasty. All right, a sine of x would then be 1/3. 90 less than x less than 180, you're in quadrant 2. So a quadrant 2 picture, see this is 90 degrees, here you're 180. So your x is in between 90 and 180, this quadrant 2. Sine would be 1/3. Can you tell your x leg would be a negative square root of 8? Square is 9, minus 1 squared is 1. 9 minus 1 is 8, square root, and you're negative because you're in the second quadrant. Right. You want number 1, number 2, number 3. That's for all 3 in one problem. Sine of x over 2 is plus or minus big square root 1 minus cosine of x, 2x, no, x, that's right, all over 2. Okay. So you need cosine x, which is negative root 8 over 3. Your cosine x is negative square root of 8 over 3. So a sine of x over 2 is plus or minus big square root 1 minus a negative square root of 8 over 3, all over 2. Again, it's just too nasty to do the rest of the work to simplify it down. Now, in terms of picking this, to pick sine, as a GN, 90 degrees less than x less than 180 degrees. If I divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2, it depends on the sine of x over 2. Depends on really the quadrant of x over 2. So this is going to be 45 degrees less than x over 2 less than 90 degrees. So x over 2 lies between 45 and 90, which is quadrant 1. Sine is positive in quadrant 1. So, answer. Sine